Okay.
So I'll start off with this painting here. That's a painting called Michael. It's based on my brother, who died in 1989.
Okay.
And I painted it in the 1990s. It's in oil. And what happened was, over the years, I think it kind of dissolved a little bit. It started off quite realistic, and then I put layers of paint over it over the years. And I guess what it says to me is that it's like memory. That's not exactly my memory of my brother, but it's kind of like he's receding into death, so that I still recognize him as Michael, but his image is kind of fading slowly, and that's what that painting is about.
I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah, it's sort of like memory itself. I thought about that the other day, and why it works not being a distinct painting in terms of, with outlines, and you wouldn't necessarily recognize that as Michael if you put that beside his photograph. And moving along, this is an ink drawing of a horse, which was really based loosely on the book that Peter and I collaborated on, called Singing Her Across, which is a book dedicated to my daughter. So the horse is reminiscent of the horse on the cover, but it's a different horse. It's more, I guess, impromptu, and it's more fleeting. It's more of an impression, whereas the horse on the cover seems to be more iconic, and it just seems very different to me. And
Why is there only half a horse?
why is there only half a horse? It's a good question. It's, yeah, I don't know.
Just interesting that.
Yeah, it's sort of something that happened very quickly, so I didn't think in terms of putting a whole horse in, I guess.
It looks a little bit like it's sort of leaping in from the side of the painting.
Yeah, that could be too. So maybe it's the impression of that horse on the cover, which is being led out of the barn, I think, into the field at night. So it's really more of an impression of a horse than the actual full-bodied horse. And then moving over to these two images here, which are called Lifting 1 and 2. These are based on little thumbnail sketches I did when I was visiting the Rodin exhibition in Montreal a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And the Rodin are part of a sculptural piece that was part of the Doors of Hell. Yeah, Doors of Hell. And except in mine, it's more
Gates of Hell, actually.
The Gates of Hell, that's right. And in mine, it's more, I think, the lifting of a child, whereas in his, it's the lifting of a woman. To me, they seem more like children to me. So it's more of a parental, I think, impression. And it's also based on the whole idea of lifting up someone after they've died, too. So his is a more of a male-female couple expression, whereas mine are more an expression, I think, of losing our daughter Danielle and lifting her up even after death. The feeling of lifting someone up, of supporting them even after they've died. So these were done very quickly. That's about all I can see right now.
Perhaps to honor by raising.
Yeah, that's right. I would say that too. Honor by raising. So there is a sadness. I can see that now. this one is this is an ink painting loosely based on the nudes that I've seen in the Sistine Chapel done by Michelangelo of the afterlife. And I call that one Death. As someone poignantly pointed out to me, and who was in the studio the other day, that says that's death. And I think that, for me, that's what that image represents. The body it's quite muscular, but as another artist pointed out to me, it's crouching. It's not looming over. I guess it's looking at a figure that's standing over it. So it's a different relationship, I suppose, than you would normally think of death. Probably based on some of the figures in the boat that's transporting people off to hell. Some of the figures were very muscular there, and some of them were crouching under the boat, were crouching in the boat. But I was influenced by it, but that was not where I was going with it. I wasn't thinking about in terms of punishment or hell. I was more thinking in terms of portraying an image of death and its strength and its power. And I guess in this case, since it's crouching, looking down, looking up at me, or the viewer, it's sort of a question of how much power it does have.
I find it, like, there's the idea of brute force, but
Yes.
I find it sort of oddly sexual too,
Yeah, it is.
in a kind of dark way.
Yeah, it is.
So
It is. It's very powerful.
maybe just because of the physicality of it.
Yeah, it looks like, yes, that's true. Yeah, I would agree that there are some things
Usually
that,
death's done as a sort of a draped figure, or
Mhm.
wearing a robe or something, whereas this is much more visceral.
Yeah, that's right. Well, because I think death has a physical element.
Yeah.
It's not just,
It's a very bodily thing.
it's a very bodily thing. I mean, you can't forget that the body is
No, I agree.
dying.
I
so
agree,
it's-
but I think that's partly why it works so well.
And I think it's important that it does have a body, that it is embodied, that it's not just a shadow.
Right.
Because, especially for the viewer who's watching or being part of a death, it's a very physical act. You can't deny that, at all. So, and so it probably has that hush quality that sexuality has too. In our society, that's a good point. Sexuality and death are linked because they're secretive acts done in secretive rooms. They're not done publicly. So in that sense, I could see that it would have the same impact. Death and sexuality.